All right, welcome to Witchpolice Radio. I'm back with a guest who has been a guest probably more than anyone else. I think you just you combined numbers from co-hosting early episodes to just sort of being on the show anytime you have a new record coming out. You got to be up there on the list of most frequent appearances on Witchpolice Radio, which is really cool. And obviously, I'm happy to have you on every time there's something new to talk about. Otherwise, it wouldn't keep happening. So I think that you're a known quantity to regular listeners of the show. But the best way to start this off is always for the guests to introduce themselves, give a bit of background about what you do, and then we'll get right into it.
I'm the Steve Martin of Witchpolice Radio.
How so?
Um,
Just like the guest
because
host thing?
he was the guest host on SNL so many times.
Right, right, right.
Anyways, yeah, I'm Rob Crooks, make beats and raps and songs.
And the reason that you're here today is because you just put out a record. At the time we're recording this was just, I guess, a couple weeks ago, right?
Yep, I can't even remember. Yeah, like a week or
It's
two ago.
very recent, yeah. So I guess maybe a good way to start then is how long have you had these songs sort of on the go? Because I know you take the CD out of the CD case, and in the liner notes there it mentions that you first performed this live, these songs from this EP, like quite a few years ago. So what's the sort of origin of all this stuff? And I know that it's the subject matter is a whole other conversation as well, but just in terms of like the length of time these songs have existed, what's that look like?
It's hard to say. I mean, like a long time though. Like probably like 7 years. I would maybe around like that kind of length of time in terms of like when I started working on this project and like now.
Yeah.
For sure, it's that many years. Yeah.
What? Why that long? I mean, I know you have lots of projects on the go. You're producing for people. You're doing your own stuff. You got collaborative records that have come out sort of over that time. You put out a lot of music. What was the reason for sitting on these? I mean, if you had performed them sort of publicly, I'm assuming that was the first time a number of years ago.
Yeah, but the songs had evolved a lot since then, and I actually added an extra song.
Okay.
Um, so I had been working on them, and I guess it's just like that project in particular is very like conceptual, I guess. So there's a lot of like time I put into it, then I'll take time away from it, and then there's a lot of like reading and stuff and like research I was putting into this one too. So it's just like a different process. So it takes more time and then just getting to a point where I'm comfortable to put it out. Like I think it sounds good sonically. I'm good with like the vocal takes I have. I'm like happy with like this like songs as final products.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of that process over time.
Well, and these are, I mean, it's an EP, it's four songs, but they're long songs. I mean, some of these songs are, one of them I think is more than 8 minutes, right? Like they're definitely more involved than just sort of a throwaway. I mean, content wise and musically and everything else, they're dense.
Yeah. I don't think of it as like a EP, but I could see why. Like it's only like what 30, or is it even 30 minutes long? I don't even know.
It's got to be
But
close to that, which I
um
guess is album length. I mean, I don't know if there's even a measurement anymore of what an actual LP versus EP length even means in 2025.
yeah, like I don't even know if that's relevant because that would like have to, yeah, I don't know if that's relevant anymore. But um I guess like because it's such a complete like project, I don't think of it as like, yeah, just an EP, I guess.
Okay, okay. So what I mean, obviously, like it's like I said, it's dense sonically. Like these are not just they're not just throwaway tracks. There's a lot going on. It's a lot of changes sort of throughout. Individual songs have it moves a lot, right? Sort of through from song to song and throughout the songs themselves. Is part of that what you were saying earlier about sort of the songs have changed over time? Are there certain like elements of the songs that you've added and taken away and kind of morphed over the years?
Yeah, I mean the I think the structure how it is now like was pretty stable, but there was definitely some experimentation and like just like there's a bit of like I guess what you might call like a narrative. So working through like what works lyrically, does like something add to the project lyrically or take away from it? And then there's like a lot of the samples I took like between songs and stuff are some of them are movie samples. Like I sampled the the telebus
Yeah,
line too, which does I don't even know if that exists anymore,
it
so I'm
still it
pretty
does.
happy
Yeah,
I got that in.
it does.
Does it?
Yeah, I had it. I was listening to it in the car with my kid, and that came on, and it was recognized. So for sure, it's definitely a thing that still exists. Yeah, which I thought was cool because I didn't know. I had no idea it was still a thing either.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, it was just, it's kind of that type of thing where I put a lot of editing into it, and like a lot of rewriting lyrical parts, and then just like trying to, just kind of tighten it up and bring it all home, and sort of like trim the fat kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, obviously, you have had on previous records. It's not really shocking that you are delving into very personal stuff on this record. That's happened before on some of your other albums. But I mean, is it? Well, what's the story behind the record? I guess maybe is a good way to start for people who haven't heard it. What is sort of the backstory about what you're talking about here? Because it is extremely personal, a lot of it, and that's got to be a weird thing to put on record and sort of have people hearing, being detached from knowing you personally, right?
Yeah, I mean, I try. I think that it's like it is very personal, and it's all based on true stories. Like there's like a little bit of like poetic license you take with it
Yeah,
to sort of make it work more, but which maybe gives you a bit of distance from it, so it doesn't make it as like embarrassing, or at least in your mind. But um, in certainly like in the past, where people have come up to me and been like, "Oh, what about this? What about this thing in your life?" And I'll be like, "How do you know that?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I put it in a song." And I'm like, so those moments do come up where it's a little bit like you you kind of like almost feel embarrassed, but when I'm writing the songs, I'm just trying to like, I don't know, I guess it's like cathartic or whatever. So I'm just trying to like make the best song ever and not really thinking about like, is this personal or not?
yeah,
Anyways, I think the question was about like what's the context of the album or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
So like it's basically just about my dad dying, and then going home to like the house, my parents' house after my dad died, and like how my mom's coping with stuff, and how like the house is like, has all these memories, and it's like it is like the house of my childhood, but it's different because, I mean, it's different just in the sense that, like it's been redecorated or whatever, or like
Yeah.
the furniture's been moved, but it's different in the sense that like my dad's dead, right? So he's like not there. So there's like this sort of like like void in the structure of the home, you know?
So the home is almost more of a character than the people in it, right? I mean, the name of the record is Unhomely, and obviously the imagery on the cover and everything, and like you're talking about the house pretty heavily sort of throughout the record. And it's interesting for me because I've known you for 30 years. I remember the house. I mean, I definitely obviously can't immediately connect with all the stuff you're talking about because it's so personal, but the setting is familiar, and that's not maybe a usual experience to have when you're listening to a record dealing with grief by someone you don't know. Like, so I have this. I feel like there's this weird window into it in the sense that, like, the setting the scene, I can picture the house, and I don't know what that's like to someone who doesn't know you and maybe is hearing this sort of more detached from everything.
Well, hopefully it's, it's like reminiscent of their own childhood homes, or like the sort of like universal childhood home that exists in the collective consciousness or something,
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. Well,
yeah, but like hopefully that's, I think anytime you make, well, when I make songs anyways, I guess I'm kind of, yeah, I'm kind of contradicting myself now, because you're hoping that the listener will like be able to put themselves in your shoes, I guess, when you're um writing a song, but it's a
but can
complicated
you,
process.
for sure, and can you, like, I mean, can you do that without sort of sacrificing some of the personal, like that catharsis thing you mentioned earlier? I mean, like, is there any danger of, not danger, but concern over like making it too universal and then maybe not getting out what you need to get out of from it as the creator of it, or is that even something that doesn't even come to mind?
No, that doesn't come to mind. Like I think I'm not like, I don't feel like I need to like be faithful to the actual narrative of like
Yeah,
how it happened. I even know that there's probably some, because like I said, like I'll change stuff to make it more like work with the song more, or like to be like, or sometimes you'll have personal memories that if you told someone else, it would mean nothing to them, right? So like you can kind of change things so it does mean so it could like connect to other people easier.
Yeah.
So there's no like faith to that narrative, but I think it's just used as like, for one thing, yes, cathartic, but then as you like you get it, like the way I write stuff like this anyways is I just like get a bunch of stuff out. So I write without, almost without like, not like automatic writing, but sort of just writing without really worrying about how it's going to be in the end. And then I go back and sort of like start like massaging it and reshaping it and
Okay.
putting and moving stuff around it. And then that part of the process, it's like, well, I want it to seem realistic and be like authentic, but I don't really care if it's like the actual, like quote unquote truth, you know?
Well, I'm sure there's no one who's like digging through your personal history to make sure, like, that you crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's either. Like, it's not. I mean, I think people
Oh
want to
God.
hear artistic license with music. Hopefully, that was the only
Yeah, I
question, I
mean, I
guess.
don't know. Well, like, why would you, yeah, I mean, like, what, like, I don't know, like, I listen to some artists, like, some of my favorite artists, I think, are pretty, like, personal, but, like, in, like, a fragmentary way, right? Like, they'll just, like, they can have, like, songs about, like, little pieces of their lives, but, like, I'm not worried about, like, is this true? Did this really happen? I'm, like, even if it's made up, I don't care if it's a good song and you can connect to it, you know?
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Is it like, was it weird putting this out? I mean, I know. Again, it's like you said, you've had some license with the story. It doesn't matter if it's necessarily the exact true thing of what your life, how your life unfolded, sort of at that time. But I mean, there's got to be some kind of you said embarrassment earlier. I don't know if maybe that is the right word, but it seems almost like just kind of nervousness about revealing something that personal about yourself. You have before in other contexts in different kinds of songs, but is there kind of like, you hit the send button to get the album made, and is there any kind of trepidation about that at all, or are you comfortable with sort of the way that you've represented, um, a very deeply personal subject matter?
Um, I don't really think about it too much. But I'm like when I put it out, when I'm like actually, hitting the send button, as you say, like I'm more like hoping that it sounds okay, like sonically. Like I hope the mix is good. Like
Right.
that's more of on my mind. But um,
Well, that's interesting because that's
yeah,
completely separate from the subject matter. I mean, that's like it's important, obviously, but it's totally removed from what you're singing and rapping about.
yeah. I mean, like I think I think it's pretty like common for people who make things for other people to consume that it like is based on like their own truth
Yeah,
without necessarily like people having to expect it to be like if I watch, I don't know if like it's I guess it's more personal than like if you were to say watch a movie, but like I don't if I watch a movie I don't think like oh my God the director is really um revealing. I guess if it's an autobiography though that's the difference, right?
yeah, and I guess a movie also there's hundreds of people involved in that. This is you making the music and writing the lyrics and delivering the lyrics, right? So it's all very much an individual effort versus a movie,
And the
which yeah, right, yeah, exactly, yeah. So it's different, but um, but yeah, no. So am I wrong? Is there a connection with this record to the introducing the Ghost record? Are they linked? I think I read something about that when you put this out.
yeah, yeah, like I consider this like part two.
Okay,
In this in like in a way, I'm thinking of it as like a three album series about these sort of like themes of ghosts and but like like ghosts in terms of like uh like in terms of like actual ghosts, but also like memories and like repressed memories
yeah.
and like and things like that. So this I like that's an I guess that's another like way I got distance between the personal subject matter and the actual product was there's like a lot more of like um playing with these ideas of like the haunted house as like a place of repressed memory and stuff like that. So there's more to it than just sort of like telling a story about myself, you know?
Right. Was that previous record, was that I mean, I've listened to it a number of times, and I didn't hear it the same way I heard this. This one is very sort of directly about your personal life, whereas that one, I mean, song to song, it kind of differed to some songs that I could be wrong, but it didn't seem to be even remotely connected to personal issues. It was seemed more like a collection of songs that were like sonically linked rather than this, which seems thematically and sonically linked.
Well, yeah, well, this one's definitely more like honed in because I think I came up with this like idea of these three albums as I was working on introducing the ghosts. You know, it was like I kind of realized that I had like other places to take these ideas and that it wouldn't just like fit in one album. So I guess like introducing the ghost, like I hadn't gone into making that album with that idea in mind. But you know, like a lot of the songs are um thematically in that like realm, but just from a different angle. Like you know, like the past is coming to get you, like is sort of like a song about like the repressed memory of like colonialism and like um so that's one example from that song, but a lot of that stuff, like even and like the last song, like the longer one, is sort of about like, you know, dealing with like inner demons and like whatever. Like so it is kind of like there are a lot of like conceptual and thematic connections, but they're just taken from a different angle.
Sure. Do you already sort of know how you want to close out that trilogy of records, or is that something that's going to sort of determine itself once you get to that point?
No, I already know. I'm already sort of started working on it. Well, I have started working on it. So I already know sort of like what it's going to be, and it's going to like expand on the same themes, and it's going to be, um, well, at this point, I'm thinking it'll be less personal and more about like Winnipeg.
Okay.
I actually have all the music, um, for it, and I sampled nothing but Winnipeg records.
I think I remember you talking about that
So
like quite a while ago that you wanted to do that. That's a really cool idea.
yeah, I've been doing it for a while because I've been kept collecting the records and stuff, and so I've yeah, pretty much like made all like the music bedding or whatever. Like I'll edit it and change it around, but I have all the basic ideas, and then I'm just gonna thematically I'll talk about um, Winnipeg too, and you know see how it goes. Like I'm still not that far into like the songwriting process, so we'll see where it goes. But those are kind of my initial ideas. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Winnipeg comes up as subject matter in a lot of your stuff, going back decades now. Obviously, you know, having been in Winnipeg for most of that time that you've been making music, that makes sense that it would be the setting for a lot of stuff. But does being detached from Winnipeg directly, does that affect sort of your interest in reflecting on the city or in using the city as a setting or a character or some kind of element of your songs? Does it, or is that even a consideration? Like, I mean, you obviously come by it naturally, having grown up in Winnipeg, right? But yeah, how is Winnipeg sort of perceived, I guess, for you at this point?
It's yeah, it's perceived differently. I've only been back twice in the past like 2 years, and it's been in the winter, and it
Yeah,
Winnipeg sucks in the winter. Well, actually, no, it's actually no. I take that back. Like Winnipeg's awesome in the winter, but it's kind of like I'm a wimp now because I live somewhere where it doesn't get cold. So like
yeah,
the cold is so much cold. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Like Winnipeg does kind of feel different in a weird way, but obviously it's the same. Like I was actually back when in Winnipeg not that long ago, and I mean, it felt really natural. It honestly had felt like I'd never left, and it felt like I could turn the corner and go home, you know,
yeah,
rather than have to like fly home, you know.
yeah. Well, the cold, the winter part is interesting too because I think that Winnipeg is very much tied with winter too, right? So like it's if you're going to talk about Winnipeg, most people are thinking about it from that context, especially people who aren't here, because that's sort of the it's hard to forget that, right? I mean, you could be gone for 30 years and you're not going to forget what winter is like in Winnipeg. So yeah, that kind of makes sense. That
You do. I feel like though you do kind of forget it because like
well, that's
you
kind of what you just
remember
said.
it,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah,
you go home and you feel it, and you're like, ah, this is fucking cold, you know.
yeah, yeah.
But but Winnipeg's amazing in the winter too. Like you don't get that out here. Like those like nights where it's like, calm and the sky's like bright and like there is just like after a snowfall, like in the crisp air, like that's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, it's very specific to. I mean, maybe not just Winnipeg, but this sort of part of the world, part of the country. I think has
Yeah.
that vibe. Does Winnipeg factor into this record at all? Aside from the fact that obviously you're talking about, a home that is in Winnipeg that you grew up in Winnipeg, but does it sort of like is this a Winnipeg record or is this just a record that happens to be set in Winnipeg because that's where your life happened? Like how prevalent, I guess, is the city as a setting or a character or a theme on this album compared to maybe some of your other stuff,
Um, I
if at
think
all?
it'll be more of a theme. Yeah, I think it'll be more of a theme in the next one. I mean, it's kind of a theme like for the reason you say, like it was written when I was living in Winnipeg too, and I think certainly when I think of the songs, like the song about riding the bus, like I'm thinking like of a specific bus route, and
Yeah,
um, but I don't know if that it's so like specific that other people from outside of Winnipeg can like won't necessarily feel like it's in Winnipeg or whatever, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. It doesn't have that Winnipeg, whatever the Winnipeg feeling is. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know if
Or
that is.
maybe it does. I don't
I've been trying to figure that out for the past 13 years, what the Winnipeg feeling is, and no one seems to know. So I guess it doesn't matter. Um, but when it comes to these songs, though, I mean, like you're singing a lot on this record. You're rapping some, but when you're dealing with like, do you have a preference when it comes to dealing with this kind of subject matter? Because your singing voice is, I don't want to say it sounds sad, but it works really well with sort of sad music. Like, I don't think I've heard a song where you're singing where you're happy, except for maybe Hey Hey, which is, quite old now, where it really, really fits as well as it does with sort of the minor key, like darker stuff. And I don't know if that's something
Yeah.
that's deliberate or that's just how you sing, but like I feel like your singing voice works well for the not the negative songs, but the more sort of yeah, darker songs, I guess. Is that
That song.
a deliberate thing or is it just what you sound like?
But I guess I like that's the stuff I like to listen to, and that's the stuff I like to sing to. Like I think a lot of like some of the more singing I've been doing over the last few years has a lot to do with the fact that like when I'm listening to music, I like to sing. I like to sing to the music, and
Yeah.
like so I wanted to make music that people would want to sing to. And it does like singing is does allow you to express like emotion differently than rapping does. Like I think they're, singing and rapping both have their like strengths in terms of like how to um, emote, but so it's nice to be able to like mix the two because on like I think like rapping is really good for when you're talking about something and you're sort of like trying to get to something and maybe like explain something or like rationalize something. And singing is more sort of just kind of um, like the feeling is as important as the words are. So they're just like they fit well together, I think, on a project like this.
Yeah. Well, I think what I mentioned earlier about the whole thing sounding kind of dense, I think the rapping parts are sort of what I mean by that, where there's a lot of lyrics. Like it's just, I mean, there's a lot sort of packed into 5 minutes, 8 minutes, however long the songs are. And most of that is in the songs where you're rapping, where there's just kind of even looking at the liner notes of the CD. I mean, there's paragraphs and paragraphs of content there that maybe obviously wouldn't work the same way with singing.
Yeah, I guess like if you like you could rap sing them, but yeah, like it's a lot of lyrics, and it's yeah, I think yeah, that's what rapping usually has more lyrics than singing.
I mean, it should. I think if it's done well, yeah, it usually does. Yeah, yeah. There are examples of rapping where it doesn't have a lot of lyrics or it still works, but yeah, in general, yeah, I think
Like free, yeah.
probably, yeah, yeah, yeah. So what, like, how do you present this piece of work now? I mean, now it's out there, people are listening to it. Is it something you want to play live again? Is it something that you want people to. I mean, I'm sure I've asked you this before. The way people consume music is so scattershot right now, and you can't. There's no guarantee someone's going to listen to this whole four songs in its entirety, start to finish. Like, how do you want this to be consumed? Like, ideally, I know you can't control at all what people do, but what's sort of the best way for someone to take this in? Do you think?
I would ideally like for people to listen to it on vinyl, but it doesn't exist on vinyl.
Right.
So, um, there are CDs. So if people like CDs, I don't even have a CD player, but people do seem to like CDs. I know you like
I
CDs.
bought one. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, thank you very much. But mostly, yeah, just like I want people to listen to it all the way through for sure. I mean, at least the first, or at least once.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't, you know, because that's how it's meant to be listened to. But and I think of it as more of like I tried to like take a different. I've been trying to take a different like approach to song structure for a long time, and this is actually my favorite album I've ever made. And like part of that is because I'm starting to get more experimental with the song structure in a way that I've been wanting to for a long time.
Okay.
And it's kind of like tied to like hip hop, like mixtape culture, or like hip hop. I think has always been like really interesting with song structure, um, especially like in the 80s and 90s and stuff. But then like also, what is another inspiration for this is Francis the Mute, which is a
Yeah.
record you showed me.
And I can see that
Um,
for sure.
so
Not sonically at all, but I can like structure wise and stuff. I can totally see how that would be something that
yeah,
could inspire this. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Which is
But then also like but also trying to like make albums that are like cinematic almost, or like trying to like almost like trying to like structure an album like a movie,
yeah,
or like and so even like even like musicals have been inspiring, not because I hate musicals, like I can't even actually think of one musical that I like, but like well, actually that's not true. I like Les Miserables.
sure.
I like Les Miserables, but like that idea of like how to like structure songs as a story and then like have returning themes and stuff like that. I think that's really interesting, and I tried to do some of that on here.
I think that's maybe why some of these longer songs don't seem long, right? Because they are kind of moving in that cinematic sort of way, and it's going somewhere rather than just being, I mean, you could do a song, you could repeat the same thing 700 times and make it last 9 minutes, and it would be boring as hell. But yeah, the fact that there's whether you even if you're not listening to the lyrics, because some people don't, right? Some people will just kind of let that wash over them. There's still the forward motion, I think, of the different parts and of the sort of ebbs and flows of the song. So that obviously worked, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah, thank you. Like I sort of think of like uh, or at least during the making of this record, and I do think this like that the sort of like typical psalm structure of like verse chorus whatever is like overly formulaic and like like overly like not how people feel emotion.
Right.
And so like I wanted to do more like closer to like how do people actually feel emotion in like real life. And I do think movies are better at capturing that than like most like pops like pop albums or whatever. But
Yeah. Yeah.
so like I think someone actually I think it was like Tom Sharpling that said he tries to make his art as close to real life as possible. And I always thought that was really interesting. And so I've tried to like incorporate that. I really like that idea, like trying to make the art as close to like real life as possible. So like almost like making songs as if you're just like going about your day, like like doing dishes, but making like this sort of like rises and dips in like emotion or whatever, like in living life, like try to put that into the music, and it's not like you don't feel stuff like that like repetitively for 3 minutes straight and then a different emotion through, like you
Yeah.
do in like a an album with like those typical song structures. Not to say that that isn't good too. Like obviously that's a winning formula. We all like most albums are like that, and there's a lot of great albums that are like that, and I'll continue probably to make songs like that too. But on this
Yeah,
specific project, I tried to something different.
yeah, that is interesting, the real life thing, because I think I mean, a lot of songs, pop songs, whatever, deal with real life issues and deal with real life emotions and things like that. But it's always sort of a very specific version of that, a very kind of idealized version of it that exists for the purposes of making a pop song, right? I mean, it's you're not going to hear something on the radio that's going to go into, uh, great detail about what someone's feeling. You're going to get the surface emotions. Sometimes that's great, but I think yeah, you can having that sort of extra level to it, or at least extra level of reality to it is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That wasn't a question either, but so if people are, I haven't heard this record and they want to hear it, they're listening to this conversation about it, they want to check it out. What's the best way to track this down? I mean, I know you have CDs out. I would ask you actually before I get to that, I want to ask you one more thing about the. You said you wish that this could be listened to on vinyl. Is there sort of a natural point where this record would flip for you? Like, because I mean, but that's part of the experience of listening to a record is that there is sort of a stop. There's like an unavoidable stop when you have to get up and flip the thing over. Does this record have for you sort of a point where that would happen?
Well, if you actually look at the songs, the first two and the third and fourth are relatively like the same amount of time. So it's a side A and a side B, and that is actually kind of on purpose because
Okay.
I was hoping to do vinyl with this, but it's at this point there's no plans for it because um I have no money. But
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, no one does. I guess. Yeah, I get it. I get it.
yeah,
Um,
most people don't have a lot of money.
no,
It's things aren't going things aren't great right now.
no, things don't go well for anybody. No, for sure. So yeah, so how do people find this though? Where does someone find your music and hear this and all the other records you've put out in the past few years? You've been pretty prolific.
Yeah, there's it's on this most of this like all the streaming services, all the evil streaming services,
Yeah,
and it's on Bandcamp. It's both on my own Bandcamp, just under Rob Crooks, and the Saskatoon Folk Rap Records Bandcamp. So those are like the sources. If you want to like, if you boycott the evil streaming services, you can go to Bandcamp, or if you want to give us money, you can go to Bandcamp. But if you just want to check it out and you're on the streaming services, it's there too. And it's on
cool.
like YouTube. It's all over the place.
People can find it, whether it's the way that they should be listening or not. They can still find it.
There's no right way these days, you know. Actually, you
Yeah,
know what I kind of want people to do is to like listen to it where they like download it and then put it into like some sort of DAW and then like turn down the high end and like put up the reverb really high and so make it sound like you're listening to it in an empty mall.